It's a battle of two great quarterbacks. It's the Lions and Argos getting set for Grey Cup Sunday. Old Calgary, that's right. That's the new home, Flutie. Now we're on the right track. And the Winnipeg Stadium. That's where Matt Dunnigan goes to work these days. Oh, what a difference a year makes. It's the Grey Cup. It's the Stamps and the Bombers. Coming up this weekend in the Grey Cup. And we'll preview the game in the next 60 minutes on the CFL Report. Ahead on this special hour-long edition of the CFL Report, a look back at the East and West Finals. We'll tell you why championship is spelled with a D. We'll visit with the two scrambling starting quarterbacks. We'll tour the host city with the Argos' Darryl K. Smith. And the players will give us their perspective on Sunday's Grey Cup game.
The CFL Report, Grey Cup Preview. He's brought to you by Pepsi. Gotta have it.
We're in the lobby of the Harbor Castle Westin Hotel, the official headquarters for the 1992 Grey Cup in Toronto. Hi, everybody, and welcome to a special Grey Cup Eve edition of the CFL Report. I'm Gord Miller. Coming up in the next hour-long show, we'll have a special look at the two football teams, Calgary and Winnipeg, taking part in the CFL Championship game. As well, our Leaf Pedersen will drop by and show you some of the things the teams will be trying to do on Sunday. And John Wells will go one-on-one with the two head coaches. Well, as the Calgary Stampeders were looking for their second straight berth in the Grey Cup Championship game, they had a lot to overcome. For the last 5 years, the host team in the Western Final had failed to advance to the Grey Cup game. So as the Stampeders took to the field at McMahon Stadium last Sunday, they had to overcome more than just the Edmonton Eskimos. They also had to overcome a lot of history. For a third straight year, Edmonton and Calgary. This time, the Stamps with Flutie. For Edmonton to win, it would have to stop the league's MVP for the last 2 years, Calgary quarterback Doug Flutie. But his scrambling, hustling, and playground instincts looked to put Calgary in a dominating position early on.
First half, I think everybody was, there was too much emotion. People were too fired up, and we weren't making the plays that we normally make. Balls were getting dropped, people going the wrong way or running wrong routes, and that gets frustrating offensively.
For making the big play, Henry the Gizmo Williams gave Calgary a big opportunity, fumbling to give the Stampeders excellent field position. Flutie took it in himself, proving his arm isn't his only weapon. Calgary led 10-1. After a safety put Calgary up 12-1, it was time for the Eskimos to get a break. And Tracy Ham took advantage, hooking up with the Giz. Edmonton had new life. Played most of the game hurt, but his courage and determination kept him going, and he ran in this touchdown to put the Eskimos ahead. The Stamps need a touchdown. Flutie is intercepted. It appears Calgary will not get another chance.
The thing that killed us in that was field position. We lose 40 yards. Instead of punting and backing them up and making them punt into the wind, they got the ball out near midfield, and they even moved for a couple of first downs after that. So they were getting on the verge of having a shot at the field goal, and that could have killed us.
Back to pass again. He's looking downfield. He's got a man open. It's got on a play at the 16-yard line by Alan Pitt.
We knew when we punted the football the last time that you know, it was going to. This was the effort. We had to have it right there. We're going to have to come up with a turnover or stop them or something, because the whole game was going to come down to that drive.
He is going to run with it. He'll cut it into the 5 and the 3, first down.
It's terrible to give it to Doug Flutie and tell him that he's got a minute to try and win the game for them, but we did it. We gave him a chance, and he responded.
Doug Flutie, he's going to try and take it himself to the one. Touchdown, Doug Flutie! Touchdown, Flutie with 19 seconds left.
You know, there's an old saying, too, that as long as there's time on the clock, the team's not out of it. And if the right guy has the ball in his hands, he can make things happen. And that's certainly what they did today. And, you know, my hat goes off to them. They played a good football game. It's a tough one for us to lose.
The extra point. And the right guy at the right time had done it again. 77 seconds was all he needed to get Calgary to the Grey Cup. Even though they were playing in the Western Final, the Edmonton Eskimos and their fans had much deeper concerns on their mind last weekend. Last Friday, former Edmonton Eskimo linebacker and current CBC television analyst Dan Kepley was taken to hospital in Calgary with severe abdominal pains. Dan suffered a perforated ulcer and remains in critical condition in Calgary's General Hospital this week. All of us at TSN, and indeed people throughout the Canadian Football League, wish Dan a speedy recovery, a great football player and a great friend of the CFL. The CFL Report returns in just a moment.
Well, I think Calgary's got overall got the better team. I think Fluty's going to be up for the big game. I think it's going to be a great game. I think Dunnigan's going to be up as well. So I think this is going to be truly, in my mind, of all the Grey Cups that I've watched, I think it's going to be one of the closest ones of all time because just these teams are evenly matched. Winnipeg's got a great defense. Calgary's got an exciting offense. And like I said, Dunnigan's always up for those games. I'd take Calgary by 4.
Like all big cities, Toronto's downtown is filled with skyscrapers, many 40, 50, or even 60 stories high. But as tall as these office buildings are, they are all dwarfed by the CN Tower, the world's tallest freestanding structure. The tower stands 1,815 feet and 5.5 inches. That's equal to 5.5 football fields stacked end to end. Inside the tower, you can find 2 video arcades, a revolving bar and restaurant at the top of the tower, and the very popular Tour of the Universe ride. But of course, the tower's biggest attraction is the view. On a clear day, you can see Mississauga, Scarborough, and even Buffalo. And come to think of it, if they open up the roof to the dome, I can even watch the Grey Cup game from right here. How about that?
And in fact, we understand Darryl Kay has reserved that spot just in case the roof is open for the Grey Cup game on Sunday. Not very likely. Well, last year the Grey Cup game was played in chilly conditions at Winnipeg Stadium. This year, no problems with the weather at Skydome. But there is a major difference from last year. The Bombers are in this game. Winnipeg, which has appeared in every Eastern final since moving to the Eastern Division back in 1987, was back there again last Sunday. And the Bombers gave the Hamilton Tiger Cats a true lesson in how the game is played. John Gregory took the Hamilton Tiger Cats from worst in the East last year to within 1 game of playing in the '92 Grey Cup. His team leader, quarterback Damon Allen. But 2 pillars of Winnipeg's strength stood in his way. He's an 11-year CFL veteran. He's a rookie who just played his first playoff game. Things looked grim for Hamilton from the outset as the fired-up Bombers headed downfield and forced the Ticats to fumble on the opening kickoff. Early momentum for the Bombers, and they'd make the Ticats pay. Rookie Michael Richardson scored his first ever playoff touchdown. Just the beginning of a big day for him. And just the start of a bad day for Damon Allen, who began feeling the heat.
Allen back in the pocket, pressure comes and he's sacked back at the 12-yard line, and getting to him was Michael Gray.
Damon Allen's worst nightmare.
Damon Allen again straight back. Here's West blitzing, and he's got Damon Allen back at the 35-yard line.
Bomber fans were looking for another trip to the big dance, but Hamilton caught a break when Bruce Plummer fumbled this punt. Down 14-0, the Cats had a chance to come back. But yet again, Winnipeg bombed Allen, and the threat of 6 was suddenly reduced to 3. Eyeing his 5th Grey Cup appearance, quarterback Matt Dunnigan found Larry Thompson 58 yards downfield. And then it was time for the rookie Richardson to go back to work.
Here's the toss to Richardson from the 6, touchdown!
Richardson ran wild.
I think I was in my own world out there. I think I was just out there just running.
just running the ball and just taking it one play at a time. Before long, I looked up, they said I had 21 carries and 135 yards in the first half. I was like, what? So the second half we came out, we kept the same game plan, we kept pounding it in there, and now we're going to Toronto.
Halftime, and the scoreboard read 37-11 Bombers. In the second half, the story was the same. The Winnipeg defense continued its dominance of the Ticat offense, with the old man, James West, leading the way.
David's one of my best friends, and to get to him anytime is a great honor. He's a elusive quarterback, and to get to him 3 times, I mean, 1 time is great, but to get to him 3 times, yeah, I think it says a lot.
Frustrated on the field and in the stands, it was simply not Hamilton's day. John Gregory's Grey Cup dream was snuffed out by a red-hot Winnipeg defense.
If our defense can put one more like that together, because I know our offense is we are going to take home the cup. Not only are we going, we're coming home with it.
They may very well after a record-setting win over Hamilton in the Eastern Final.
All the way to the cup, baby. All the way to the cup.
When the CFL report continues, we'll hear from Doug Flutie, the CFL's outstanding player for a second straight year, but a man still in search of his first professional championship. This special Grey Cup edition of the CFL report returns in just a moment.
I think the fact that Doug Flutie is quarterbacking the Calgary Stampeders, and we've watched them all season, work his magic. I think they'll do it again, and that should bring Calgary out in front by, let's say, 7 points.
The game, the outcome, an exciting game, a quarterback classic, a hopefully sold-out house, satisfied fans, and Calgary by 8.
Rocket fuel.
Did you know that there are not 1, not 2, but 3 different Chinatowns in Toronto? In fact, Toronto has one of the largest Chinatowns in North America, and it's second in size only to San Francisco. Along with our Chinatown, we've got Little Italy, just west of the city core, a Portuguese area also in the West End, and Greektown located on and around Danforth Avenue. Well, today I'm in Chinatown, and it's a shame I had to come all the way here to shop for a nice southern meal. So here we go. I'm gonna start out with some nice pork bellies a la king. Yes, sir, yes, sir. That is one of my specialties. Look at that there. And then we're gonna have pork intestines, which is chitlins for you people that don't know down south. And then I'm gonna top it off with some chicken feet a la carte. Boy, nothing like a good chicken foot. Come on by. Ought to be a great meal. I'm a master chef.
Well, if it's all the same to you, Daryl K., I think I'll send out tonight. The Calgary Stampeders are making their second straight appearance in this Grey Cup championship game, and as the 2-time defending champions of the West, they didn't feel they had to make many changes in the offseason. The one they did make up front paid off in handsome dividends. Bruce Covington, the first pick overall in the draft, was added to the offensive line, and he's really fit in like a veteran there. Covington, along with the rest of the large Calgary offensive line, has provided great protection for Doug Flutie this year. The strength of Calgary's offense is at the receiver position. Wally Buono's team will use as many as 6 receivers. The key is Alan Pitts, who caught the big pass last week against the Edmonton Eskimos. He had over 100 catches for a second straight season. And in the offensive backfield, Doug Flutie, of course, leads the way. But in the backfield, Keevan Jenkins is underrated, outstanding as a pass receiver, and also a solid threat to run the ball. Now with Doug Flutie, you've got a man who can do it all, and a man who has done it all in the CFL. He was second in passing this year, 6th overall in rushing. He captured his second straight CFL award as the league's outstanding player. But one thing has eluded Doug Flutie in his many travels in professional football: a championship. And he's hoping to remedy that this weekend. It's hard to believe, but it's been almost a decade since Doug Flutie threw this famous Hail Mary pass against the University of Miami. That one pass made Doug Flutie a Heisman Trophy winner and a household name across North America. But despite his fame and his obvious skill, Flutie floundered after he left Boston College. First, billionaire Donald Trump used cash to bring Flutie to the New Jersey Generals of the now-defunct United States Football League. From there, he went to the NFL. And although he started games for both the Chicago Bears and the New England Patriots, Doug Flutie was never able to prove himself in the NFL.
When I went to New England, right away, when they hired a new offensive coordinator, the first thing we worked on were drops and setting the feet and getting rid of the ball on rhythm all the time. And take your read and throw it. If it's not there, throw it away. And I'd never played like that before. You know, I always took my drops and I threw the ball on time, but if it wasn't there, I looked to move or try to make something happen.
He finally found a home when then BC Lions owner Murray Pesem lured him to the Canadian Football League. Flutie experienced some growing pains in his first year, but the following season blossomed to become the most productive passer in league history. He led the Lions to an impressive 11-7 record and was named the CFL's most outstanding player. But last off-season, Flutie succumbed to the charms of yet another charismatic millionaire. Calgary's Larry Rickman made him a Stampeder.
I didn't believe that this was going to be the alternative and where I would end up. And now that I am in Calgary, I'm excited about it.
This year, Doug Flutie proved that 1991 was no fluke. Again, he's been named the CFL's most outstanding player, and he's brought the Calgary Stampeders back to the Grey Cup.
This is big time, and I don't care if anyone says any different. It's a championship. It's a striving for winning it all, and you know, it's what every competitive athlete lives for.
There have been any number of superlatives used to describe Doug Flutie, but one eludes him: champion. And that's a title he hopes to gain this weekend.
Well, thanks, Gord. Well, there's no question the Calgary Stampeders have had an unbelievable year on offense, and for the obvious reasons. They had a quarterback, Doug Flutie, that threw for nearly 6,000 yards. They had 3 receivers that went over 1,000 yards in receiving. I mean, those are the obvious things. But tonight, I'd like to show you some of the hidden reasons why this Calgary Stampeder offense is so good, and probably some things that haven't been talked about as much as they should have. One thing is the offensive line right here. Now, this was a group a year ago that was in a shambles, but this year, only 34 sacks against in 18 games. That ranked them, of course, number 2 in the league. But you're talking about a group that was shaky to begin with. Hey, this has become one of the most solid areas of their football team. Okay, let it run. That's the number one thing that they do well. How about Doug Flutie? Stop it right here. Here he is on the sprint out. Hardly ever will you find Doug Flutie as a straight drop back passer, and that's good for one main reason. He's only 5'9" tall. He's not the biggest guy back there. He has to create some lanes to throw in, and you know, his offensive line, let it roll a little farther. His offensive line does a great job. Stop it there. How about Covington at the top? He's on Benny Goods. See how wide he's taken him? You've sealed off down here. Look at the sight lines that have not only been created by the offensive line, but by Doug Flutie himself being a smart quarterback. Let it run. You're going to see as the ball is in the air, perfect vision downfield for him to pick out Alan Pitts. This was the catch late in the game last week in the Western Final that enabled them to go on to that winning drive. But, you know, a couple of things that aren't talked about enough. An offensive line that's turned out to be a super group, and Doug Flutie, a small quarterback, being smart, using the sprint out, creating good vision downfield for himself. That's why they're such a successful offense. Now with more, here's John Wells.
Coach Bowman, as you look at the Grey Cup game on Sunday afternoon, what do you see as Winnipeg's key to stopping the Calgary offense?
Well, the key to their offense has to be Flutie, and so our key has to be to stop him. And it falls into something that we want to do anyway, because our whole aim in defensive life is to get in the quarterback's face, to do nasty things to him, to say nasty things to him, and breathe our nasty breath on him.
How much is Michael Richardson going to be a key to your success? He is getting an awful lot of...
He's getting an awful lot of press, and deservedly so. He's a very good running back, and what he does for us is not only get yardage, but he causes teams to be concerned, and when they're concerned, that means that our passing game has to have a better chance.
On defense, can you hope to have the kind of success against Calgary that you had against Hamilton last week?
Well, 2 weeks before that, when we played Ottawa, people came up to me after the game and they said, that is the best I've ever seen the defense play. And it was the best that they played that year, this year, but they did it again the next week. They got better. So maybe we've got the right secret. Let's get better this week.
When you look at this game, is there one critical matchup on either side of the ball that's going to be what wins it for Winnipeg?
Well, I think, once again, I think everything else being equal, our kicking game has to be on par. We have to be mistake-free. We have to make sure that we stop their return people, and we have to make sure that we get some kind of return ourselves. And if we can do that, we can have a very good game.
Urban Bowman has won Grey Cup rings before as an assistant coach in the CFL, but now he's pressed into duty as the Bombers' interim head coach and looking for another Grey Cup championship. When this special Grey Cup edition of the CFL Report returns to the lobby of the Harbour Castle Weston, we'll take a look at the Bombers and how they line up. But first, some thoughts on how Winnipeg might try to stop Calgary's outstanding quarterback, Doug Flutie.
You obviously think you can pressure Doug Flutie as much as
think. I wouldn't be out here telling you that if I didn't think we could pressure him. Yeah, we're going to pressure him. And we know that he doesn't want to take a lick. He's going to get rid of the ball. If nobody's open or not, he's going to throw the ball away. And believe me, he's going to get a hit ready to throw the ball or not.
When it comes to taking care of business in Toronto, Bay Street is the place. It's home to many of the city's biggest businessmen, wheeler, dealers, and bankers. Nearly 70% of the country's banking is done in Toronto, with much of it centered in the Bay Street area. Not only do most of the major Canadian banks have their head offices here, but so do many of the large foreign banks who have invested billions of dollars in our country. And many of those foreign dollars eventually find their way into here. The Toronto Stock Exchange, an average of $300 million per day is traded here. That's 75% of the stock traded across the country. Well, I tell you, I may not be the richest guy in the world, but I have a few extra dollars lying around, and we're here with Scott. Scott, I want to know, if there's one hot stock in town right now that you had to put your money on, what would it be?
Just one. I think I picked the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
And your job title is what?
Floor trader, stock trader.
The Winnipeg Blue Bombers. No wonder the economy is in the shape that it's in. That's all from the TSC. Back to you, Gord.
Thanks, Darryl. Time now to take stock in the Winnipeg Blue Bomber offense. Perhaps not as flashy as the Calgary Stampeders, but one that certainly gets the job done. And a big reason for that, perhaps the best offensive line in the CFL, anchored by the two gigantic tackles, Miles Garrell and Chris Walby. Both over 6'7", both over 300 pounds, and a major reason the Bombers get the job done offensively. In terms of receivers, Winnipeg doesn't have the big names. Larry Thompson led the team in receiving this year, but was ranked 8th overall in the Canadian Football League. It's in the backfield that Winnipeg excels, with Matt Dunnigan, who quarterbacked the Argos to the Grey Cup last year, and of course Michael Richardson, the outstanding rookie, who's got Warren Hudson along with him. Hudson probably the best blocking back in all of the CFL. Matt Dunnigan is now playing in his 8th season as a full-time starting quarterback in the Canadian Football League. He's played for 4 different teams, and now he has his 4th team in the Grey Cup Championship. For many, Matt Dunnigan had a lot of question marks surrounding him, that he got hurt too much, that he couldn't win the big game. Well, to the second, Matt Dunnigan has 2 Grey Cup rings to show he can indeed win when it counts. He came to the Canadian Football League in 1983, and during his 9 years in the CFL, Matt Dunnigan has seen his share of adversity. He knows what it's like to get hit, and he knows what it's like to get hurt. Getting hurt is the knock that has followed Matt Dunnigan throughout his CFL career. And yet, the quarterback has continued to fight back, and he's considered one of the CFL's premier quarterbacks.
I've been a very fortunate individual and be blessed to be surrounded by great people. And I attribute my success to the people around me. They're your backbone. You know, they're the people that matter the most. And they're the ones that are going to love you whether you stink or whether you played great. But they are certainly my backbone, my crutch, my support. You know, they always pat me on the back, encouraging me, telling me I can do things, you know, when I may lack a little confidence or maybe a little hurt or sore. You know, just challenging me. And when you get challenged by the people who love you the most, I think that's when you surprise yourself and do some pretty unexpected things. And they've been able to challenge me over the years.
9 years in the CFL, 4 different teams, and Dunnigan has taken each of those 4 teams to the Grey Cup game. This weekend's championship game will be his 5th. Above all, Matt Dunnigan is a winner.
You know, I just try to be Matt Dunnigan. Go out there, enjoy what I do, try to encourage people to enjoy what they do, study as hard as I possibly can, and prepare myself the best way I can before a game, and go out there and just leave it all on the football field, and hopefully lead by example. Sometimes, you know, I'll get a little vocal, but sometimes that's necessary too.
Respect comes with winning, and Dunnigan's success comes often as a result of his fierce intensity, something he doesn't have to go out of his way to generate.
Imagine if I was a car salesman, it'd be the same way. If I sold a car, I'd be jumping around the showroom, you know, slapping those other salesmen and having fun. I enjoy what I do. Chris Wally makes a great block, puts them in the end zone. He should be jumping up and down, and he usually is. Doing the bushwhacker dance, you know, and moving around and, you know, getting people fired up. And I throw a touchdown pass, call a right play, make an audible, execute a play properly. You know, I get excited about what I do.
Regardless of where he's played or how often he's played, Matt Dunnigan has made one thing clear. When it comes time for the big game, he'll be there.
I think it's a prerequisite to have the will to win. When you play any type of sport or compete or do any type of job, you want to be successful. You've got to have that will to win. That has got to be there, period, before you even start. So I think what I want people to remember me by is the fact that I had the will to prepare to win. And I always tried to prepare myself the best I possibly could, go out there and compete as hard as I possibly could and leave it all on the football field, period.
When the Blue Bombers began the season, they did so with the CFL's leading rusher in their backfield, but that was Robert Mims. When the Bombers ended the season, they again had a leading rusher, but by then it was Michael Richardson. Many people in Winnipeg were surprised when the Bombers released Robert Mims midway through the season. But after seeing Michael Richardson begin his act, there's no question the Bombers made a great move. He played in just 11 games this year in the CFL, but had enough yards to lead the league in rushing, a testament to his abilities and the abilities of that great Winnipeg offensive line. To explain how the Bombers run the ball so well, here's Leif Pedersen.
I've seen a lot of backs come and go in the CFL, but I can't really recall anyone that's made such an immediate impact on the game as Michael Richardson has this year in such an abbreviated season for him. And I think one of the reasons is his offensive line. Obviously, I mean, they have blocked for some great backs, but I think with Michael Richardson more than anybody in the past, this is a line that goes that extra mile. I mean, they'll make their block at the point of attack and then work downfield to make another one. And there was a play from the big win over Hamilton last week that I'd like to go back and have a look at just to show you how this offensive line works so hard for Michael Richardson. This, in fact, was Richardson's 3rd touchdown of the game. Let's let it run, and I think the key is to show you stop it right there. Point of attack. David Black, the right guard, is going to sneak through. Here's Gift Topless coming. He's wiped out. The entire defensive line is taken that way. Walby gets a block and starts coming this way. Okay, let it run. As Winnipeg always does, great blocking at the point of attack. Now stop it right there. Hey, here's Walby. This is 3-4 yards downfield. He's going to start looking for another block. Miles Gorell's going to leave his man. He's going to start looking for another block. Let it roll another few feet and watch who's coming real hard. Okay, here's Todd Wiseman. He's going to try and make the hit, but now stop it right there. Here comes old Warren Hudson with a full head of steam. He's going to find number 40, Tim Jackson, coming in your screen and get a huge block, and that's the one that let it go. That's the one that finally sets Michael Richardson free. Watch the block here. Boom. Totally wipes out Jackson. Now it's a foot race. But I think more than anything else what this play illustrates is the fact that not only is Michael Richardson a tremendous running back, but he's got an offensive line that just dies to get downfield and make that extra block. But, you know, in my opinion, the glue to that entire offense is number 37, Warren Hudson. I showed you his block on the first play around, but hey, there he is right here. Big old Warren Hudson, 235 pounds. It's like having a sixth offensive lineman on the field. Let it run and watch how hard he works to help his buddy Michael Richardson. Same play. Here he comes. There's 37, powering downfield. Watch number 40, Tim Jackson. He's going to take a helmet right on the chin here, and boy, the good backs always have some great guys up in front of them, and certainly this is the case with Michael Richardson. And in my opinion, you know, he had over 200 yards against Hamilton last weekend. He may not get 200 against Calgary this weekend, but I would be shocked if he did not have a great game.
All right, Lee, let me begin with Coach Wally Buono to ask how you stopped the double threat that the Bombers had on offense last week of Dunnigan and Richardson. What do you do?
Well, I think you got to just read your keys, and obviously when they run the ball, the sets and the offensive line's posture is slightly different, and you play run. When they're in certain sets, you know they're in pass sets, you play pass. It's very difficult to try to stop the run and the pass at the same time, but you know, they do things very well, and that's why they're where they're at.
What bothers you most or worries you most about the Winnipeg defense?
Well, I think what bothers you most about any kind of defense, especially the style, is they're aggressive. They come after you, and they do a lot of stunning, and they have a tendency at times to get a guy free. And, you know, if you get a guy free too often, it does put a lot of pressure on the quarterback.
Is there one key matchup when you look at this on both sides of the ball that will determine victory or defeat for the Calgary Stampeders?
Well, I think it's our offense and defensive fronts. If we can, our offensive line does a good job of controlling their linebackers when they're dogging, and if our front seven can do a good job on the running game, then I think we'll be successful. You know, that's, I think, their strengths, and those are the things they rely on.
What would be the most important lesson that the Stampeders have learned from being here last year?
Well, again, I think the most important lessons is the fact that it's a hard road to get here, and when you have an opportunity to win, you should take advantage of it.
When you look at the final outcome on Sunday afternoon, do you think it'll come down to the last minute and perhaps a field goal?
Well, I'm hoping it doesn't come down to that because I'm getting a lot of gray hair, but these are two good football teams. They have a lot of weapons, and I think they both have the determination to want to win. So if that does come that, I think you got the two best field goal kickers kicking too.
All right. Thanks very much. Good luck Sunday, Wally.
Thank you.
Like Urban Bowman, Wally Buono has won Grey Cup rings before. His last came as a member of the Montreal Alouettes back in 1977. But like Urban Bowman, he seeks his first Grey Cup ring as a head coach in the CFL. Lots more to come on the CFL Report, but first the Calgary Stampeders and their thoughts on how to stop the double threat in Winnipeg's backfield. Michael Richardson and Matt Dunnigan.
Well, obviously I think they're going to be a little better with Matt in there, and over my 9 years in the league, Matt Dunnigan has beat the Calgary Stampeders many times, but obviously they're going to be like, they run pretty basic stuff, but they just run a power type offense, and they got a good quality running back and good receivers, and anytime a team has Matt Dunnigan at the helm, it's going to be a dangerous weapon back there for him.
Most of you might look at me and think, he's a successful athlete. He's nice looking, drives a fancy car, wears fine clothes, and you'd be right. When you have an image like mine, you have to make sure that you're seen in all the right places. How you doing? Welcome back. Oh, thank you very much. This is the Yorkville section of Toronto. It's home to 275 of the city's finest retail outlets. These include many of our trendiest restaurants and cafes, as well as night spots that are frequented by the rich and famous. And of course, stores that sell the products made by the biggest names in the clothing business. Well, here I am in one of my favorite shopping spots here in Yorkville, and today I'm looking for suits. Can you fit me up, poor man like me?
Oh, no problem.
Ah, blue.
Blue.
One of my favorite colors.
This is one of the year's fashion colors. It's a teal blue.
Teal. Teal.
Almost like Argo blue, but not quite.
Almost. Double blue. That feels good. Let's see what it looks like. Woo-wee! That is some fire. Boy, I feel like $1 million, but I ain't got but 2 loonies in my pocket. How much is this?
This week it's reduced for Grey Cup week.
Reduced?
Yeah.
My kind of special.
Thanks very much, Daryl. Nice threads and everything, but you won't see any jackets like these on the racks. You can't buy these just anywhere, you know. Welcome back to the special Grey Cup edition of the CFL Report, coming to you from the lobby of the Harbor Castle Westin Hotel. Time now to take a look at the Calgary Stampeder defense, one which has a much different philosophy than the Bombers. Winnipeg likes to take a lot of chances. Calgary doesn't. The belief there is they'll bend but not break, and the Stampeders have the personnel to pull it off. On the defensive line, the bookends are Will Johnson and Tim Cofield, among the best in the CFL. At linebacker, the Stamps have really been helped by the addition of Marvin Pope, who really helps the Stampeders when it comes to stopping the run. And in the defensive backfield, you'll find plenty of veterans, led by Junior Thurman, perhaps the best corner in the entire league, and Darryl Hall, who not only makes the interceptions, but also helps out with the big hits. It's a Calgary defense that has made its mark this year, and here's how. If you've listened to all the pregame talk, you probably think the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have the best defense in the CFL. Very little has been said about Calgary's D. And yet, by comparison, there's very little difference. Through the regular season, the Stamps were #1 against the pass in the CFL and #2 against the rush. Yet this defense lives in Winnipeg's shadow.
All the publicity, that's fine. They have all the hype. They have the guys who do all the talking. That's fine. That's not our game at all. Never has been. Like I said, we're a team that has no superstars, as we call it, but we're all quality players, and we all know our job, and that doesn't bother us at all. No.
Well, I guess when you open your mouth like they've been, you're going to get, a little extra publicity, but, what you do on the field is going to do the talking, and I think we have the best defense in the league, and after that game, there'll be no doubt about who's got the best whatever.
What we may have here is another case of a no-name defense. There are no James West, Greg Battles, or Rod Hills here. Just a group of Calgary players who consistently get the job done.
I think one of the most important things about our defense is there is no one star, as you saw by the all-star team selections. I think we had 5 guys on defense alone, and that says that there's no one person that's pulling more weight than the others. Everyone has their equal roles, and everyone does their equal roles, and everyone knows what they have to do.
There's really no selfishness on the defense. There's no big stars who think they're above the team and anything like that. So just the togetherness is probably one of our biggest strengths.
Solid, effective, but this Calgary defense is not spectacular.
Most people would call us on the lines of being conservative, and that's fair enough, but we don't mind coming after you every once in a while, and you have to decide when we're going to come, and sometimes we'll bring the safety low and actually not bring them. But for the most part, if somebody were to break us down and look at us and say, yeah, they play some man, they play some zone, but nothing really that sophisticated, but we feel what we do well.
The Calgary defense hasn't received a lot of media attention, but those in the know in the CFL know how good it is. It's a 4-3 alignment, 4 down linemen and 3 linebackers. Unlike the Bombers, they count on the front 4 to provide the pressure on the quarterback. The Stamps have 2 excellent defensive ends to provide that pressure. On one side is Will Johnson, last year's runner-up as Defensive Player of the Year. On the other side is a relative newcomer, perhaps the strongest lineman in the league. In 1988, while a member of the Kansas City Chiefs, Tim Cofield won the NFL's strongest man competition.
We ask our front 4 to apply some pressure to try to keep quarterbacks in the pocket, depending what type of quarterback that we are playing. And usually we've been successful, and every once in a while we'll send a 5th, being a linebacker, and possibly a 6th man. But we try to make every offensive team that we play earn any points that they're going to get.
The linebacking core is anchored by Alondra Johnson, who finished the season 2nd in the league with 95 tackles. And in the defensive backfield, look out for the cover man, among the best in the league, including number 7, Darryl Hall, who threw a blanket over some of the league's best receivers this year. You get the picture. There are no superstars, no boisterous personalities, just a defense that works.
So it's time to talk about the Calgary Stampeder defense, and quite simply put, it's a defense that doesn't beat itself. They like to play a lot of zone defense and force offenses to put a lot of plays together to score points against them, and they play pretty well against the run. And I'd like to show you a play from last weekend's Western Final against the Edmonton Eskimos that really illustrates how they've taken on a bit of a different look the last 2 games of the season, and of course in the Western Final. Strategic change. Number 91, Marvin Pope, has become their middle linebacker. Alondra Johnson moves to the outside, and of course you've still got Matt Finley. Let's run the play ahead a little bit here. This was a handoff to Blake Marshall. Here he is coming the hole. Stop it right here. This is the scheme they use. They got Caulfield, they got Zizakovic, and they got Johnson. They're slanting all to the field out here. Here's where the play wants to go. You've got Alondra Johnson going to meet it in the hole. And the beauty of this defense now is they've got 2 big physical guys, 2 physical linebackers right in the middle of the field. Watch what happens when this. Hey, they want to run here. Nothing going. Marshall says, oh, I see some daylight out here. Run it a little further. I'm going to show you what happens. Stop it right now. Here comes number 91, Marvin Pope. Watch for that number on Sunday night in the Grey Cup. He comes smack into the hole and takes on number 22, Blake Marshall. Let it run, 230 pounds, stops him dead in his tracks, and he's not able to go any further. But I think as you look at the Calgary defense, the adjustments that Wally Buono and his coaching staff have made have just been super at the end of the year. Hey, it's the time of the year when everybody runs, and luckily enough, he's going to play against a running team, even under good conditions at the Sky Dome. He's got a defense that should be as well prepared as they can possibly be. They've got the right personnel in there. John?
All right, Miles Corral, let's get down to business here. How does your offensive line stack up against the Calgary defensive line?
Well, I think we stack up pretty good. We got some good size, no pun intended here. But Chris Walby and I are, are the biggest guys, I think, in the league on the tackles together. And we're going to try and run the ball right at them. We're not going to, line up in any fancy formations, 5-pack, 6-pack, how many receivers you want. We're going to line up and run the ball at them, and we're going to try and make them stop us.
Michael Richardson is getting rave reviews. How do you rate him as among the running backs that you've blocked for in your career?
Other than Willie Burden, who was a superhuman being and the greatest guy in the world, I think Michael Richardson is, he's just the nicest kid. He wants to run for 500 yards every game. He thinks it's, his fault if he doesn't hit the hole in time or he only gets 3 yards. It's never our fault. Even if we miss a block, he goes, oh, it was my fault. I should have hit it quicker. And so, you got to like the guy, and you just want to play harder for him because he's trying to play as hard as he can. And he's got a big heart, and he's a lot of fun to be around.
In the final analysis, when you look at Sunday afternoon, do you think offense or defense is going to win this game for the Bombers?
I think our defense is going to be, our whole game plan will be predicated on how our defense plays. And if they come up with some big plays early, it's just going to pump our offense up. Or if the offense, we can make a few good big plays early, the defense gets pumped up. So, we just feed off each other, and that's what happened against Hamilton is the defense. The special teams made a big play right off the bat. Everybody was pumped up. We went out and we just kept building, and Matt Dunnigan brings us to that level. And he just won't let us go down, which is the greatest thing. I just love playing for Matt.
And from one big man, we go to another. After hearing from Miles Corral, it's only appropriate as we go to break to hear from Chris Walby and his thoughts on how the Bombers will attack that Calgary defense.
Calgary's definitely going to have to stop the run game, or we'll have more success than they'll want us to have. But I think that we're going to go out there and run the ball, and I don't think we're going to try and trick them. We haven't tried to trick teams in the past. We're just going to play power ball, come at you, and see if you can stop us. And blood and guts ball. That's all it is, really.
Now I bet you thought the only stars in Toronto were Pinball, Robbie Alomar, and Mr. Wendell Clark. But let me tell you something. There are more. And many of them can be seen on stages like the one inside this theater. In fact, there are no less than 40 theaters in the city where you can see an average of 50 new productions every month. Toronto's thriving theater scene is the third largest in the world, trailing only New York and London, England. You may not know this, but I, D.K. Smith, I once considered a career in show business, bright lights.
Hey, aren't you Eddie Murphy?
Shh, get away from me, kid. Eat your heart out, Gord. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Daryl. You know, it's funny, people always ask me if I'm Pee Wee Herman. Go figure. Well, time now to take a look at the Winnipeg Blue Bomber defense. And it is the defense that has made its mark on the CFL this season. The Bombers are aggressive when they don't have the ball, and they love to make things happen when they play D. And it begins up front. Vaughn Booker is the big addition to this Winnipeg defensive line, as Damon Allen found out to his chagrin last week in the Eastern Final. At linebacker, the Bombers have perhaps the best group in the entire CFL, with veterans like Greg Battle and James Wild West, who isn't showing any of his 36 years. And the defensive backfield, Rod Hill leads the way. The only all-star from this Winnipeg defense, a defense that felt it was snubbed by the voters. But if they didn't get the respect there, the Bombers will get plenty from the Calgary Stampeders on Sunday. This is a defense that revolves around its linebackers, and no wonder. The Bombers play a 3-4 defense, 3 down linemen and 4 linebackers. In this defense, the front three's role is to occupy the offensive line, allowing the linebackers to come up and make the big plays.
My role in a 3-4 defense is basically to get pressure upfield and try to occupy two players, the guard and the center. If I can do that and free up a linebacker when he's blitzing, that's my job basically.
Helping Mikowas with the initial rush are the ends. Number 52, 8-year veteran Michael Gray on one side, and on the other, 6'5", 260-pound rookie Vaughn Booker. But in this type of defense, the linebackers dictate the success. The Bombers usually bring at least 1, but it can be as many as 3. And you need 4 strong, quick players to make it work.
Each one of our linebackers, possesses his own, unique characteristic. But all in all, we all cover well. We all can rush the passer and, and just do it all.
The names make the linebackers great. 2-time CFL Defensive Player of the Year, Greg Battle. 11-year CFL veteran, James Wild West. 4th-year linebacker, Paul Randolph. And rookie Lorenza Baker, an all-star at Louisiana Tech for 4 seasons. Just the Bombers' luck to get a guy like Baker to add to their already impressive group of linebackers.
Lorenza Baker goes 100 miles an hour, 24 hours a day. A kid out of Louisiana Tech that by some, he's probably small by a lot of people's standards, but he's got great athletic ability, and he's always after the play, and he always hustles. There's nobody around that'll out-hustle a guy like him.
What's been the best part of this defense? Maybe the play of the former Stampeder, 36-year-old James West.
He plays with so much enthusiasm, and for his age, I'm not saying he's over the hill by any means, but he's, he plays with so much enthusiasm. He just gets all the young guys fired up, and us too. I mean, everybody's just running around there trying to make things happen.
The one thing about James is that it was always a 2-man show before. It was Ty and James, Tyrone Jones and James West. And then about Labor Day, when the Bombers played Saskatchewan and Ty, of course, had been traded to the Rough Riders, James had played the first half of the season without a lot of enthusiasm. He played okay and he'd been consistent, but it wasn't the enthusiastic Wild West that we'd come to know and love. They got into it that day. They started pointing the fingers at each other, yelling at each other. They went mask to mask a couple of times on the sidelines, and that was it. James West just changed completely. He realized that it was no longer Ty and James, that he had to pick it up himself. He's the loud leader. Greg Battle is the quiet leader, and together they have made the Winnipeg defense, I believe, the best that I've seen in this league, with the exception perhaps of the 1990 defense that won the Grey Cup 50-11 all by itself.
All by itself? Maybe not. But this weekend, James West and this Bomber D may have reason to smile.
Oh, the Winnipeg defense. There's so many adjectives I could use to describe them. Relentless, tenacious, physical, very verbal. I guess when it comes right down to it, they're just not a lot of fun to play against. But, last weekend Hamilton found that out because Damon Allen was on his backside for most of the game. And, when you talk about their defense, I guess pressure defense comes to mind. And I'd like to go back to that game and show you one of their blitzes. They used such an assortment, but this one was particularly effective. Here's James West, number 58, in the middle of your screen. Now, he gets some help, and this is what I think they do as well as anything, is team defense. You've got Paul Randolph here. You've got Vaughn Booker there. They are going to slant down and tie up 3 people so James West can come all the way from the outside on the blitz, let it run, and get the sack on Damon Allen. But everybody thinks of this defense as a, hell-bent for election style of defense, just come from everywhere with no scheme, but they have different roles that they play. That time, a couple of players sacrificed themselves so James West could make the sack. Now, let's re-rack it here, and I want to show you something that you didn't even notice on this defense when I drew it up, and something that I'm sure you didn't see when you watched the game. Here is Michael Gray, number 52, at the top of the screen. Now, he's a guy that's been around. He's seen every offensive scheme, and this particular offensive set, let it run just a little bit. I'm going to show you what happens. Damon Allen knows the blitz is coming. Stop it right here. As Michael Gray engages his man, he notices that this is Lee Knight, the fullback, right here. He also knows that West's coming on the blitz, and there's nobody left after the fake draw to pick up. And Damon Allen's going to have to get rid of the football quickly. He sees Lee Knight sneaking out in the flat. Let it run. I'm going to show you what a play a veteran can make. He's seen this before. Hey, what does he do? Stop it right there. He says, forget about rushing the passer. I know my pal West's going to get there or get close to him. I'm going to stop Lee Knight from getting out into the pattern. Let it run. And in doing so, he takes the potential receiver away from Damon Allen that he wanted to hit, and James West comes up with the sack. But really, I think what that shows is a defense that not only is physical and all those other adjectives I described earlier, but a defense that is extremely, extremely smart.
The CFL Report Grey Cup Preview has been brought to you by Pepsi. Gotta have it.